Well, it looks like we found our private little cove. We're near the port of Andratx on Majorca. And this island is just very beautiful. Looks like a really nice area with these huge peaks. I'm gonna go and take a hike in the hills.
I wanted to break away to see the world.
I longed for excitement, the romance of travel.
So we built a boat.
And now we travel the oceans. Join us as we voyage to distant shores. For at least 6,000 years, the island of Majorca has been a popular destination for seafarers, colonists, expatriates, and, well, anyone seeking sun, warm seas, and a relaxing lifestyle. Paul and I arrived here aboard our sailboat, Two Step, after a transatlantic passage from Canada. We entered the Mediterranean Sea through the Strait of Gibraltar and sailed along the Spanish coast as far as Calpe. From there, we headed offshore for the Balearic Islands, about 70 nautical miles, stopping first at Isla Formentera, then Ibiza, and now Majorca, the largest of the islands, about 100 kilometers wide.
Each of the islands in the Balearic Archipelago is geographically different from the others. On Majorca, the mountain range running along the northwest coast has made the island a desirable year-round habitat for countless civilizations because of the protection the mountains give from strong northern winds. So throughout the millennia, Majorca was conquered and ruled, first by Neolithic cavemen, then seafaring cultures such as the Phoenicians, Greeks, Romans, and Moors, and is now an autonomous community of Spain. This looks like an old original pine forest, but in fact we're walking through farm fields. They haven't been cultivated for hundreds of years, but when the Moors came 1,000 years ago, they brought advanced methods of agriculture and terraced a lot of the steep sides of the island so they could be used to grow crops.
Living on a boat isn't that different from living in a house, except that it moves, and some of the things you do indoors in a house are more fun to do outdoors on a boat. How's this for a bathtub? We found a special detergent that lathers in salt water, so whenever we can, we take saltwater baths to save on our fresh water supply. Not all soaps and detergents will lather in salt water, so you need to do a little bit of research and make sure they're biodegradable. That feels better, but there's one more step. In order to get rid of the sticky feeling you get from salt water sometimes, we give ourselves a light freshwater rinse using this pressurized garden sprayer. One of the other boats that has joined us in the anchorage is this speedy little sailboat called a laser, which just proves you don't need a big boat or a lot of money to go cruising. The owner of the laser, Jackson Campbell, and his friend Martin Hatley have sailed a couple of miles from the port of Andratx to camp on the remote beach here at Calaegos. We've heard that it was once used as a smuggler's beach. Sharing the adventure are Jackson's younger brother Beanie, the family dog Bracken, and Georgia, the boy's sister.
No, we came down to do a big camping trip and capsize the boat and have fun on the beach and make some lunch and then supper. And yeah, I like sailing. We do sailing courses in the summer here in the port, every summer.
While Jackson and Beanie play stick with the dog, Cheryl talks to Martin and learns the story of this old smuggler's beach.
They used to smuggle, bring in from the mainland, tobacco and wine and leave it on Dragonera. They used to bring in little boats to this beach and dig it and bury it under these two charcoal burners. Is to dig it here and wait for the Guardia Civil to stop watching the roads. Then they'll come down and take it with the crates into Andratx and sell it there.
Talking with the boys, I learned that their families were once long-term cruisers like us. When they arrived in Majorca on their sailboats, their parents were enchanted by this Spanish island, which they now call home.
We left England when I was like 4 years old, went to the Caribbean and sailed around there for a year and a bit. And then we came here and my parents really liked it. And we sold the boat and started building a house high up in the mountains. We have like lots of animals like donkeys and goats and chickens, and it's quite nice. I really like sailing. I mean, when I'm older, I'd like to live on the water in a boat. So I think I would have preferred to stay cruising rather than come to land. I mean, I like the land, but I think I would have liked to stay cruising.
The wind picks up, so the next day we head eastwards for the short sail to the port of Andratx. Andratx is a busy but protected harbour and a good place to do some reprovisioning. But as we're rowing ashore, I get an unexpected call. It's the kids we met on the beach, inviting us to come to dinner at their home in the mountains. Their parents, Mike and Hiltrude, would like to meet us and are preparing some traditional Majorcan foods for us to try.
That's cruising in the modern age. We get a cell phone call while we're rowing around. And it's supposed to be up in the mountains, a house they've been working on for 10 years, and they're former cruisers, so are really interested in seeing what's up.
But the home that designer and builder Mike Campbell has created for his family in the mountains of Majorca is no log cabin in the woods. This beautiful retreat is a mixture of modern and traditional Majorquin styling, and it has taken Mike 10 years to complete because he is in such demand to design and build these custom homes for others, a case of the shoemaker's children. The swimming pool is our favorite feature. Mike has designed the waterfall and surrounding stonework to blend in with the landscape and imitate the natural freshwater pools formed by mountain streams. After a quick dip, Maxie, the youngest Campbell, introduces us to another Campbell kid, Billy, his new pet goat.
So yes, go and play with Billy a bit, he's a bit lonely, you know.
Then he demonstrates an island activity we've never witnessed before, headbutting.
So does he do this all the time?
Yeah, he does. After this astonishing demonstration, Bracken shows off her skill
Bracken?
rounding up the donkeys.
Sit down. Where are they? Those donkeys. Where have they gone?
Actually, it's Mike's voice that the donkeys really respond to, but it's a game they play and Mike humors the dog, rewarding her for a job well done.
Sid, you did that really well. You're such a clever dog. You're a good girl. Yeah, a good girl. Yes, you did that really well.
So you know, one of the things that I always miss the most when we lived on the boat is having a bath.
Oh, yes.
So do you think you fancy having a bath here?
Oh my goodness. I would
a deep
love
one with bubbles.
Oh, thank you. I would love that. This is a real treat. What a thoughtful gesture. I feel like a princess in a fairy tale climbing the stairs of this welcoming palace. There's even an elf hiding on the windowsill. Here he is again. Is this kid everywhere? Oh my goodness. Is this for me?
And when you lots of bubbles, here's a glass of wine.
Thank you. I am getting truly spoiled. I think I've died and gone to heaven. Cheers. We shoo Maxie away, and Georgia runs some more hot water as I prepare myself for the luxury of a tub full of bubbles. It's the first real bath I've had in months. This is fantastic. This feels positively illegal. The amount of water in this bathtub is the same that we use in 1 week on Tuesday. While I'm relaxing in the bubbles and thanking the powers that be for all the good people in the world, the members of the Campbell family are busy preparing a lovely al fresco dinner of grilled quail and traditional sausages served with their favorite Spanish wine.
I only get as far as putting the corkscrew in, and then I need a man to do this.
I'll do it.
You are not a man yet, darling.
I have gone to heaven. A bubble bath and now dinner under a Mediterranean night sky in the mountains.
What can you explain
Butifarone.
the sausages to us?
Butifarone.
This one here is butifarone, and it's got pine seeds, and I'm not sure what the meat is. I think.
Onion and pine kernels.
It's very good. It's filled with herbs and pine nuts.
Yeah, it's very good. It's very traditional to eat these on fiestas and the fiestas that they have in the street, you know, the village fiestas. And the most special occasion is the San Antoni that they have just after Christmas. Shall we start passing
Isn't
some
this
around?
looking
wow, that
wonderful?
looks
Mike,
good.
thank you.
Well done, Mike.
Not only can the guy build houses, he can cook too. Cheryl and I are feeling very privileged to be sitting at this table tonight as guests of this wonderful family at their magical mountain home. We can certainly understand why the Campbells have fallen in love with Majorca.
Cheers and thank you again.
Are you interested in the cruising lifestyle? Are you planning to sail away on a cruising adventure? Or researching cruising areas and destinations? Distant Shores is a television series about the cruising life, with lots of tips for sailors planning to sail away. This is Oswego, New York. We are entering the Erie Canal system, and this will take us all the way from Lake Ontario to the Hudson River, which gets us to New York City. Plus destination information to help you make your cruising plans.
I can stand on the bottom.
We've been filming Distant Shores for nearly 15 years and know the fun and challenges of the cruising life. We've made Distant Shores with you in mind. We include plenty of cruising tips in this travel series, as well as lifestyle segments and hints for sailors heading to exotic destinations. Encouragement for you and your crew to get out cruising. Destinations include the Intracoastal Waterway, the Bahamas, Caribbean, the Mediterranean, Scandinavia, transatlantic passage making, the French canals, and more.
From Andrach, we make a leisurely day sail heading east for about 20 nautical miles to the main port of Palma. As we approach the city, one large building stands out on the horizon, which we use as a guide to the harbour entrance, the beautiful Palma Cathedral. And it's fitting that this classic Gothic structure has become a navigational landmark for sailors, because there's a story of a sailor's promise behind the construction of the Palma Cathedral.
In 1229, James I led a fleet of 150 ships to Majorca, which was then ruled by the Moors. As the fleet stood off the island, a fierce storm came up and threatened to sink the whole fleet. If the expedition against the Moors was successful, James promised to build a church dedicated to the Virgin Mary. After a 3-month battle, James defeated the Moors, and true to his word, they began construction the next year, right smack on top of the old Great Mosque. It's built of sandstone and took 400 years to build. This is one of the largest Gothic structures in the world. The nave is 44 meters high
and these pillars stand like huge palm trees holding up the vaulted ceiling. Now I can certainly understand looking for help from above in a storm at sea, but King James' promise was a doozy.
Today we're taking this antique train to Sawyer, heading up into the Tramuntana mountain range. Once in a while it's nice to get back to the hustle and bustle of a city like Palma, but now we want to get away to the mountains to do some hiking, and riding this old Victorian train to the town of Sawyer, about an hour away, is a great way to get there. It doesn't take long to get out of the city before we're rolling through the flat southern plains of the island. This rich farmland, where olive groves stretch for miles, is another reason that Majorca has endured many conquests throughout its long history. The peaks of the Serra de Tramuntana mountain range lie to the northwest, protecting the precious trees from strong northern winds, and in the mountain's fertile valleys, citrus fruits are grown. Today we're riding the train to Sawyer, heading for the Serra Tramuntana mountain range. This railway, an antique wooden train, was completed in 1911. It was built from the profits of the orange and lemon groves.
Maybe it's a better time to talk about tunnels. There are a lot of them on this trip. The longest one plunges you into darkness for a full 5 minutes as you're carried through the heart of the mountain. We're reaching the end, so Cheryl's going to try again to tell you the history of this train.
This train was built in 1911 from the profits from the orange and lemon fruits grown here. At that time, it took a full day to drive the roads to get to market in Palma. But with the train, it's just over an hour. Haha, got it.
The town of Sawyer is a quaint old merchant town and a central base for exploring the surrounding mountains. No matter what your level of interest or aptitude for hiking, there are trails to get everyone out into the stunning scenery of the Serra de Tramuntana.
Many of the trails we're hiking on today were formed hundreds of years ago by navigateurs or snow collectors.
This is an old snow house. In the winter, when there's snow on this mountain range, the navigateurs would fill these with snow which compressed into ice. Then each day they would cut blocks of ice which they'd carry into town to sell. So even in the hot summer months, the people of Majorca enjoyed refrigeration as early as the 10th century. A lot of work, but living on a boat in a hot climate, we know it's worth the effort. We've gone to a lot of work ourselves on board Two-Step to enjoy the convenience of refrigeration.
When we first started sailing, our boat just had an ice box, so we relied on the local icemen too. But it was pretty limiting. So a few years ago, we installed refrigeration. But on a boat, it's not as easy as just buying a fridge and plugging it in. First of all, we're not connected to shore power, so we have to generate our own power to run the refrigeration system, which we use solar panels to do. There's just some things you need to keep cold.
It's been a wonderful day up in the mountains of Majorca. You could spend weeks exploring this island, but the autumn nights are getting cooler now. Although we hate to leave, it's time to get back to the boat and continue our voyage. From Palma, we continue eastwards along the coast, and from Porto Cristo, sail about 40 nautical miles for the nearby island of Menorca. Our ultimate destination is Mahon, but first we want to see the ancient port of Cuidadella, where we make landfall.
The narrow harbor of Cuidadella is really only suitable for small boats,
But despite this, it's been at the center of the island's affairs for most of its history.
The Romans and Moors chose it, and the Catalans of the Reconquista destroyed the whole town and started all again.
But in 1722, the British moved the capital to the larger port of Mahon, but the historic charm of Cuidadella still lives on.
The prosperous town of Cuidadella suffered numerous invasions throughout its history and was completely destroyed by pirates in several attacks. When the town was rebuilt, gargoyles and threatening images, like this cudgel-wielding Virgin Mary, were made part of the architecture, and the streets were designed in a complicated maze of dead-end laneways to confuse and trap marauding pirates.
The town was rebuilt with these narrow streets to confuse future invaders, and it works even today.
It's clouded over by the time we get back to the boat, and we notice there's a swell coming into the harbor now. From the weather forecast, we weren't expecting a rolly night at the dock. Then the island ferry arrives, sending us bouncing again. Does this thing run all night? It's at times like this that I start wondering if traveling by sailboat is such a great idea. But when the weather kicks in or things get uncomfortable, that's when you have to be there, giving your full attention to the situation. And it's a good thing we do. The autumn wind builds through the night and blows straight into the packed harbor. Hulls crash and we're up all night repositioning fenders to protect our floating home from damage.
Just trying to get these fenders sorted out. We came in here last night and it was pretty nice last night, but in the middle of the night it got up with a real wind. So we've got the banging against the dock here. It's really rough. We're going to try and get on down to the port of Mahon. Admiral Nelson was here in Menorca about 200 years ago, and when he was here, he said there's only really 3 good harbors in the Western Mediterranean, and that's Mahon and July and August. Well, it's not July or August, so I think we better get to Mahon. There's a real storm blowing up here right now.
The forecast for tonight is for storm force winds from the southwest. The harbor at Cuidadella will be a nightmare in those conditions. The run to Mahon is about 40 nautical miles to the east. If we're going to arrive before sunset, we're going to have to keep up a good speed throughout the day. We arrive in Mahon just as the sun is setting, and relieved, we anchor in Cala Tolera, a very protected bay at the entrance to the main harbor. The wind has already turned, and we're exhausted from lack of sleep.
Wow, that is a real sailor's warning sky. The red sky in the morning, sailor's warning. I'm really glad we came here. It's the wind has come up from the west again, just as the forecast said it would. And Cuidadella would not have been safe. That would have been really dangerous. I just hope those boats in there that have stayed there are all right. But I'm glad we're here. We're in Port of Mahon and battening down for some wind today.
For the next 3 days, we comfortably ride out the storm in this very protected cove, our anchor holding securely despite the strong winds. When at last the wind lets up, we raise anchor and head up the 3-mile-long channel into the main port of Mahon. Sailing, like most things, has its bad moments as well as its good. But the challenges are part of the excitement of sailing for us. And like traveling of any kind, teaches us new things about ourselves and the world we live in.
Are you interested in the cruising lifestyle? Are you planning to sail away on a cruising adventure? Or researching cruising areas and destinations? Distant Shores is a television series about the cruising life, with lots of tips for sailors planning to sail away.
This is Oswego, New York. We are entering the Erie Canal system, and this will take us all the way from Lake Ontario to the Hudson River, which gets us to New York City.
Plus destination information to help you make your cruising plans.
I can stand on the bottom.
We've been filming Distant Shores for nearly 15 years and know the fun and challenges of the cruising life. We've made Distant Shores with you in mind. We include plenty of cruising tips in this travel series, as well as lifestyle segments and hints for sailors heading to exotic destinations. Encouragement for you and your crew to get out cruising. Destinations include the Intracoastal Waterway, the Bahamas, Caribbean, the Mediterranean, Scandinavia, transatlantic passage making, the French canals, and more.